Hey everybody, my name is Sean Maddie, and I am one half of the musical project called Eolik. And the reason I say musical project is because I never really envisioned this becoming a full band. The idea behind this is my brother Brett and I were big heavy metal fans. We picked up guitar back when I was like 16 years old. He was probably 13 or 14. And we just have always loved music, writing music, listening to music ever since then. And we wrote some songs about a little more than a decade ago and put together a demo under the name Marum. But again, life just sort of came in and wasn't able to make it materialize into much. But I've kind of had the itch for a while to resurrect it and to start picking up the guitar again and really trying to write some music. And so we kind of decided to make this the placeholder, permanent placeholder for music going forward. The idea behind Eolik is that it's pretty open. It means universal in Old English, so there's a tie there. Old English, it's kind of our background. But also universal means anything goes, and that's the fun thing about this project is we're fans of heavy music, and the idea will be that the riff will inspire the song, regardless of how it ends up. It's not all going to be thrash metal or death metal. Whatever happens, happens, and it all will work under this moniker and this project. So right now, I've got a bunch of tracks that I've released, made available on Bandcamp. I'll have a YouTube page, Instagram, all that'll be available. So you can follow. I'll try and be active and share some of the songwriting process or what it's like to use the gear that I have, give you snippets of song updates and things like that, and try and make this a place where anyone who's interested in that crap, that might be local here to Salt Lake City or that just is into heavy metal production, can check this out and watch some amateurs make some noise. So real quick, I'm going to show you the rig setup that I have down here. This is all just in my house. I have a game room and also a teeny little studio. So this is one of the rigs right here. This is a Marshall Valve State 8100. This was gifted to me by a buddy who lives in Florida who didn't need it anymore. And I'm thrilled with it. When these were new and on store shelves, they were looked down on as being like the cheap ones, right? Because they weren't all tube heads. But these things are monsters. Meshuggah used one of these back in the day. Chuck from Death recorded a couple albums with one of these, along with a PV5150. In Flames' classic Clayman tone was captured with one of these. So it's a monster. The cabinet's a Cornford, which is a British boutique company. 4x12 with Celestion Vintage 30s in it. Right now, I basically just use a Super Overdrive, Boss Super Overdrive to boost. I have a wah down there, but it almost never gets used. I've got a couple other rack effects that I haven't got all set up yet. I have a Rocktron Hush Super C noise suppressor and then a Korg tuner. The other rig is a JCM 2000 DSL. It's a 50 watt all tube head with a 1960 lead cab. And so, yeah, I have quite a few options here. This is a 2 notes captor, so I can record direct. It's a load box as well as an attenuator, so it helps the tubes. I can play at moderate volumes and still make it scream. It's a beautiful little machine. There's my condenser mic. It's an Audio-Technica entry-level piece of junk. I'd like to get a new one soon, but it works for now. As far as guitars go, I have several. This is my Jackson Dave Mustaine Signature Y2KV. This is a US Select model. Beautiful, beautiful discontinued guitar. My Jackson Telly 7-string, my only 7-string, and this is pretty new to me. Just sort of wrapping my head around 7 strings. This is a homemade guitar. Well, it's not really homemade. It was rebuilt by a buddy of mine, Ryan Williams. He helped me rebuild this. It needs still needs some work, but it's a fun little Flying V Rhodes style dimebucker in there. Let's put that sucker back. My Epiphone Les Paul. This is my first guitar that I ever had. Swapped out Seymour Duncan JB in there a long time ago. And then this is my Ibanez 5-string bass. It's not anything really above entry level, but for tracking, it's basically all one would need. So I run Reaper. That's what's over here. I can open this up real quick. I run Reaper. And plugins I use a lot of the same stuff for vocals. I would use the Howard Benson vocal plugin from Joey Sturgis Tones. I'm using this right now, and it's kind of an all-in-one effects modulator here, which is good for me, someone who doesn't really know that much about this stuff. It definitely helps me wrap my head around the ins and outs of effects and how to make all that stuff work. As far as compression and EQ, I just use the stock Reaper plugins for that. On my guitar tracks, if I'm not using an amplifier, there's a couple of different amp sims that I use. Right now, this track has the TSE Audio 5150 knockoff. I use the NAD IR loader from STL. The Dead Duck Noise Gate, the TSE Tube Screamer knockoff. For captured amp sound, most of that stays the same, except I omit the amp sim. Most of this stuff is the same. For bass guitar, I use the Ampeg SVT classic head from the SVX plugin. And I run a clean and a dirty track simultaneously, the same capture. Drums, I wish I could play the drums, but I use a Superior Drummer 2. And then Brett and I have kind of manufactured this drum set using the Metal Foundry. And it sounds pretty decent for what it is. I think there's still some room to grow with this, but I'm relatively happy with the outcome here. So yeah, so all this stuff is basically trial and error. It's just me and Brett trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to continue to move forward with it and share all the stuff that I have with people who care. So I will jump back on soon and share some more. Cheers.